Today, we're looking at a blue ink by Akkerman, their number 5 Binnenhof Blue. As always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, it really does help me out if you check out the entire video. Also, down in the description is a link to the blue ink playlist so you can check that out if you're interested. I'm an ink guy. Let's get into the first writing sample, 90 GSM Clairfontaine. The 1.1 has... We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 9 seconds to dry. Medium is a slight bit lighter than the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen. It is showing some shading, like dog looks a bit lighter than the word quick. Fox goes darker to lighter to darker, 16 seconds to dry. Scrubby of the medium shows some color variation, which is what we got. Scrubby of the extra fine shows none. We had none. The smear test says you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Lamy All-Star with a fine nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is just a little bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 17 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 24 seconds to dry. The scrubby Fro show us no color variation because we get none, and the smear test, I don't think you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down and then it's put into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And this is really very interesting because we see this kind of purpley tone at the bottom and it pushes up and we do see a bright blue. Now faintly at the top we see a very light turquoise. The one on the right is let dry for 10 minutes before it's dunked into water. And that purple on the bottom is really forming a line and being there, making me feel there may be some resistance here. The blue pushes its way up and really gathers at the top. And off on the left side, you do see that turquoise standing out all on its own. I would have expected a lot more shading than we tend to get from this ink. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 7 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation, and we didn't get any, but the smear test says you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I don't use this in a note-taking situation because there's a lot of blowout that's occurring, and I'm super risk averse when it comes to my notes. Water is showing a lot of reactivating and moving of a bunch of the ink, but a lot of it is really left there. Luckily, it only took water to get it out of my pen. Pen flesh does a bit more than water does. You start to see some of the white of the paper coming through on the bottom portions of it. And strangely, bleach did nothing. I was in shock over the fact that bleach did absolutely nothing. And feeling the paper, I can feel that the bleach was there. But I don't see any kind of effect. Very unusual. The next writing sample is done on TWSBI notebook paper. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, spots of shading. The K in quick is darker, the is darker than quick. Lazy starts dark and gets light, 9 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 16 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, although there is a little bit in the in the extra fine. And the smear test says you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity was 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Akkerman's number 6 has a viscosity of 3.41, making this a very dry ink. If you're interested in how all that viscosity stuff is done, there's a link to that video down in the description. Now, let's take a look at moleskin paper. This is a paper everybody loves to hate. Yes, it has a ton of bleed spots. No, it does not touch the page underneath. So for a pocket-sized notebook, this does really very well. I'm not sure if you would use the back of the page. I don't think it's too bad for the extra fine. That medium up here, I wouldn't be able to. The medium has a ton of tiny feathering all over it. The entire thing has tiny feathering. It doesn't spread though. It doesn't have halo sheen or shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub. It only has minor feathering in some spots, like the word the has it. The ZY of lazy, the word fox, the K in quick. Not the type of feathering that I think would really stop you from using it. No spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade, 3 seconds to dry. I really do think this performed very well on this paper. The scrubby shows no color variation. We didn't get it in the writing sample. And the smear test, you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, and the realm of normal was 13 to 21 seconds. Akkerman's number 6 has an average dry time of 14 seconds, making it normal. The last writing sample is done on crowd favorite 20-pound copy paper. This has a ton of bleed going on. I'm just going to underline it. You see all of it comes through. You could practically read it here. Now, none of this, even up here in the medium, none of it touched the page underneath. So while you can't use the back of the page because you're going to destroy both sides for your notes, it doesn't touch the page underneath, despite how dark it came through with that medium. Very impressive for that. Now the medium has, yes, a ton of feathering. Yes, it spreads to about a broad. It has no halo, no sheen, no shade. Write really big, and you can probably use it with, varying levels of success. The extra fine has tiny feathers the whole way through. All of it. It does spread to about a medium with no halo sheen, no shade, 1 second to dry. The scrubby shows color variation far left to far right, though it doesn't come through in the writing. And a smear test, you could definitely recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like Akkerman's number 6 Binnenhof Blues, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went for a nice yellow from Krishna, their Freedom Gold. Now, if you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description are links to different color playlists. So what do I think of Akkerman number 6 Binnenhof Blues? This is a nice solid blue with occasional shading and some slight tone variation by pen. It's a good standard blue for someone. And it has really cool bottles, so there's always that. So what nib and pen give the best writing experience with this ink? I really prefer it in its darker non-shading version that we get from a wet fine or wet extra fine. I think it really does give it a very nice standout tone on the page. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video we're going to take a look at Noodler's Texas Live Oak.